Hey, YouTube. I'm here to talk about Queen Sugar. Season 5, Episode 3. Okay. We're going to open up with Ralph is getting news by the radio. He's listening to the radio. This whole season, I suspect, is going to be about COVID, right? Because that's all they're talking about. Now, I don't know how I feel about that, but I don't know how they can get around it because that is the current situation in the U.S. and abroad. Is the COVID situation. But we've been listening to COVID all year long, right? So a lot of us are burnt out on the damn COVID. We want it to be done. We don't want to be stupid like Texas and Mississippi and just ignore it and open every damn thing up. We're here to talk about Queen Sugar. I don't want to get into all that, but we're all having a little bit of COVID fatigue, I think. But they're going to go through this whole situation of what this community went through in the early stages of COVID. So Ralph was finding out that his crops, he said his crops are looking better than they ever were, but there's problems with the meals, and there's reasons why he will not be able to bring his crop. And the farmers are having a hard time because of directly associated with COVID, right? Surprisingly, so far, his attitude has been pretty good about this whole COVID situation. Remember, he used to go into these deep depressions and rages about pretty much anything. But so far, we see his attitude is pretty good, realizing that this is something that everybody's going through, and they just have to get through it. Right? Next thing we see, Hollywood and Vi are preparing meals. It's not totally clear to me if this is like here they're all preparing meals, but it's for pickup, right? People order food, they can deliver it or pick it up, but you can't sit down in the restaurant. But so it's either that or they're just making meals for people who need the food and delivering it to them. Because the next thing we see is Nova and her boy. Are they married? I don't know. Nova and Calvin. Nova and Calvin, they're delivering food and cleaning supplies, sanitizer, and things to people who are in need. They're just leaving it on the porch, and that's it, right? No contact type of thing. But so I guess the meals that Vi is preparing in her restaurant, there seems to be like regular takeout meals, but they might actually just be charity she's giving away. Because the food that she has at her restaurant, she can't use it anyway because the restaurant's closed. She's under instruction to be closed. Okay. She's making it. Nova and Calvin are passing it out. I think it's what's happening there. We see Darla. Now, Darla's doing something that I didn't do. I've done pretty much everything they asked us to do, but she is actually sanitizing her groceries. So when you go in the grocery store, obviously, other people have touched the groceries. In early stages of COVID, they made a real big deal out of sanitizer, and washing your hands 4 and 5 times a day. They made a big deal out of that, and then I think at some point we realized that it was primarily passed by the mouth, so the mask became the primary thing, right? People still have to wash their hands and things like that, but the primary thing now is to wear a mask. So she's sanitizing all of her groceries, which just makes a lot of sense. So I thought, well, hell, after I bring the groceries in the house, they've been touched by other people, so it makes sense that what she's doing. I never got that far. They show Mr. Prosper, poor Mr. Prosper. Now, everybody's worried about him, and he's extremely worried himself. So Prosper appears to be worried, frustrated, and depressed. Nova comes to bring him food. He is very rude to her. Just put it in the kitchen. I'll get to it, Nova. Okay. She's asking him, how you doing, kind of thing, right? He's extremely worried, and he's frustrated because he has to be in the house. And at this point, I think they're only at about 6 weeks. But 6 weeks in, for a man like him, who's used to being out and working the land and so forth, I guess he's depressed. We'll say that. He won't answer his phone. Then Hollywood, he's depressed about his mother, who's also a senior. First, we see her talking to him by like a Zoom kind of thing, or at least online some kind of way. She's on there talking as he's cooking. They're having, and she starts coughing. You know how it is in these TV dramas. Whenever somebody coughing, they always make it that's going to be a part of the scene. I mean the episode, right? He sees her coughing, and then the next thing we see is she stops answering her phone. He can't contact her. He tries and tries and tries. She won't answer the phone. So of course he heard her coughing. Now he can't reach her at all. He's extremely worried about his mama. So it looks like Hollywood's going to have to go back. I think she's in Baton Rouge or somewhere. She's in another city. But he has some neighbors go and check on her. And the neighbors did say that they were able to... Baby, please stop. Hey, stop. The neighbors did confirm that she's not dead. I mean, she is alive. But he's extremely worried about her, and she won't answer her phone either. She's like Prosper. So it looks like the elders are getting real depressed about this stuff. And then at that point in COVID, we thought it was just the elders that had to worry about. No, honey. It turns out there's a lot more people getting sick than just the elders. And let's see what next. Next we see Micah is back home. And he's got some news that him and Kiki have broken up. So last week we saw Kiki talking to some guy, this Middle Eastern guy. He's working the concession when they had that event where he announced that he was in this sorority, right? Well, Micah was aware of that, but she reassured him that there was nothing going on, right? And so now in this episode, apparently something was going on because he's saying that they have broken up and she has gotten a whole new boyfriend. And so Charlie becomes aware of that. She wasn't aware of that they had actually broken up. But this is part of just being young. I mean, young people, very few actually marry their high school sweethearts, right? So we thinking that Michael's all devastated about this kind of thing, right? But a couple scenes later, he's on the phone with a new girl who is I guess she is very aware of Charlie, or she's followed her career. And she wants to talk. Oh, yes, your mom. Oh, can I talk to her? Oh, put her on the phone. Hi, how you doing? Say hi to her. Hi, how you doing? So he has moved on as well. So it's not as dramatic or traumatic as we might initially think that he's broken up with this girl, because we've become familiar with Kiki. So apparently she's out of the picture now. She's got a whole new boyfriend. We can only assume that it's the guy she was talking to and seemed kind of flirtatious with. We don't know where that story is going to go. But he says that she broke up with him. Okay, next scene. Darla has been laid off. Okay, so Darla, she still had her job up until this point. We're only about 6 weeks into this lockdown. She still had her job before, and she was trying to get a new job. As we recall from 1 or 2 episodes before, she was applying for a new job. Well, now her actual job that she has now is in jeopardy because they've had an outbreak at the place where she works, and 7 people have become ill. So they have now closed down their business as well. It's not a retail type place where they're dealing with customers, I guess. I'm not sure what kind of company it is. I believe it's some kind of insurance company she works for. They're shutting down as well. So they're putting her on something called a furlough, where she is still technically a employee of theirs. So I believe that might mean that she can't get unemployment because she's still employed. She says she can still get benefits, but there's be no paycheck. Now that's messed up. If they lay them off, they should be able to get unemployment insurance. But she said there's furloughed. I don't know why they would say furlough as opposed to laid off. I think laid off is better because you can actually go and get unemployment benefit. So now Ralph and her and Darla are faced with no income at all. She's laid off of her job. His farm is shut down. He won't bring a crop this year, which is where all his money comes from. So they have no money coming in. So far, the attitudes are still pretty good. Ralph is not freaking out like we would expect him to be. And at some point, they both decide. Darla says she's going to get another job, different job, even though she's furloughed from his other place. And Ralph decides he's going to get a job. Now, Ralph ends up getting a job like his father had. Remember Ernest? The very first scene, way back when this thing first started, they all thought that Ernest was making a living from the farm. And actually, he had been a janitor for, I believe, the school system or somewhere. He was a janitor to supplement the farm. They didn't know that. They thought he was just living off the farm. So now Ralph's going to apply for the same kind of job. And there are so few jobs available because basically everything is shut down, right? There are no, and then Darla suggested, well, there are the nursing homes. I don't know if I want a job in a nursing home though, because a nursing home, these are where the people who are most affected at, and where the most corona is. But he's a young, healthy man, so perhaps he wouldn't be in the same position as the elderly people who are in the nursing homes. But that's where the biggest outbreaks were initially. Anyway, Ralph goes, and he applies, and he gets a job at a nursing home in maintenance. Right? That's good, because it brings them some income into the house. Because the farmer's not going to bring anything this year. Darla not bringing anything right now. And she has to try to find a job as well. So they may end up working in the same place because there are no jobs. Everything's shut down. Okay. Then we see Ralph. He sells one of his tractors. Now, I don't know if they expect it to be a bad thing or not, because he's selling it for $8,500, and he haggles with the guy a little bit, and he gets $7,000. But obviously, if you're going to sell something, you're going to mark it up higher than what you actually expect to get for it. You're going to need a little wiggle room for them to try to talk you down a little bit. So they settle on $7,000, but he says that's not enough money to keep them afloat. He thought it would put a dent in these bills, but $7,000 is not going to do it. Okay, but I'm sure it helps. Let me see. We see Nova is worried about Prosper. She thinks he is depressed. Prosper's depressed. He can't get out of bed. He don't want to answer his phone. He's rude to Nova. He don't want to be bothered. All he can do is watch his television about this damn COVID and the fact that he can't go anywhere. She's worried about him. She's praying for him. Nova has got her own spirituality, and she I don't know what the name of it is or what she practices, but she's got baby, sweet baby, come here. Where you at? Oh, you're right here. You be quiet, please. Thank you. Yeah. So eventually, she does call him. He does answer the phone after a ring, and then she kind of asked him to help her out with this writing project that she's doing. And she's trying to get the homeless people into these empty hotels, that's what they did here. They took the homeless people, all the ones who tested positive for coronavirus, and they put them in these fancy hotels, which are empty. They're not making any money at all. So I guess the city or county pays them something just to house these people, right? So, and he gets a little bit of excitement, a little bit of pep, something to do, right? Because so far he has nothing else to do but lay in bed. Okay, so we see Hollywood, his mom won't answer the phone. Now he's going to visit his mother. First he's going to visit with Prosper because he won't answer either. None of the elders are answering their phones. So he's going to check on Prosper and then go to wherever she is. Check on her. Okay, so the last thing I see is Micah just calling this girl. And that's kind of where he left it. We don't know who the girl is. Maybe this is a new character. He seems to be like this is something significant about him talking to this girl. Because the girl wanted to talk to Charlie and all this kind of stuff, whatever. They may be introducing a new character with Micah. As far as we know. We don't know. That's where they left it, people. Okay, I wanted to come in and make sure that I reviewed the Queen Sugar. That's episode 3, and I'll see you next week. Later, people. Stay safe.